All right, what's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video about my time working in a juvenile detention center. I know you guys rather enjoy those stories. Before I get started, though, just wanted to make you guys aware that I have launched memberships here on the channel. And with the memberships, that'll give you an opportunity to have early access to my new videos. Some of these videos will be exclusive to members. The memberships are affordable. I think my lowest tier is maybe $4 a month. My highest tier is $8 a month. And my goal with the memberships is to basically strengthen my community without breaking the bank, to give you guys an opportunity to hear some of the more personal stories that I may not want out there for all of YouTube to have access to. Okay. But let's get into the story of juvenile inmate Cameron. All right. Now, in terms of these juvenile detention center stories, I think I'm going to put together a playlist where I'm going to be talking about each one of the most significant juvenile inmates, giving you different encounters that I may have had with that inmate, the reason why they're there or why they're, I guess some of them are still there, the reason why they were there or are still there, so that you guys can be familiar. I want you guys to understand that these stories about the detention center and the juveniles that are located there and why they're there, they're all building to a much bigger conclusion. So I'm going to encourage you guys to watch every video in that playlist when I create it, so that when I mention a particular juvenile's name, you'll know exactly who that juvenile is and the overall role that they're going to play in the conclusion of that particular era of my life. But getting into today's story, this is going to be about juvenile inmate Cameron. Okay. And to give you a brief background on juvenile inmate Cameron, he'll be called Cameron from now on. Uh, Cameron is, if I'm not mistaken, he's 18 years old. I believe he was sentenced to juvenile life, so he won't be leaving the detention center until he turns 21. And quite possibly, he may even be transferred to an adult facility once he reaches the age of 21. Okay. So Cameron's 18. Cameron is about 6'1". He might be 6'2". He's taller than me. I'm 6 feet. Cameron, lanky. He's a basketball player, so he has a kind of basketball frame, that long, lanky, kind of wiry frame. Like I said, he's 6'1", 6'2". Cameron walks around. It's somewhat awkward to me. Okay, because he walks around. First off, he always has his arms really tight to his body. His fists are always balled up, and he keeps his fists kind of resting, kind of like on his groin area, even when he's standing up. Okay, when he walks, he kind of moves, in my opinion, like a snake. Like every time he steps, whichever foot he steps with, he kind of sways his shoulder and his head in that direction too. So typically when he's walking, it kind of looks similar to this. Now mind, he kind of hunches down a little bit. It to me, he looks like he's trying to be prepared for maybe like an attack, so he can respond quickly if somebody decides that they want to sneak attack him. He's ready to attack back. But it looks very awkward for somebody as tall as him and as wiry frame as him to be, kind of scrunching down and moving like that, like when he's ready. It's strange. And he moves like that everywhere he goes. The only time he doesn't look like that is when he's playing basketball on the basketball court. Okay. Now, this particular story involves other juveniles in the detention center that will serve as side characters for this particular story. All right. The side character in this story, his first name is pretty common, so I'm going to refer to him by his last name, which is Copeland. Okay. Copeland is a 16-year-old juvenile. Um, he's very ignorant and he's very obnoxious. Now, for those of you who have been with me here on the channel for quite some time, you know that ignorant behavior, obnoxious behavior, is something that really I'm not for. Okay, that's one of the things that kind of grinds my gears. One of the things that can, really get me to pay special attention to you. Okay, so in this particular story, okay, There was one particular night um, in the juvenile detention center that it came upon a time where certain people had to be put to bed. Now, before I get into that, let me back up and say, in this detention center, everything works off of levels. I'm not sure if it's the same in every detention center, but in the one where I worked, everything works off of levels. So the criminal offenders, the juveniles, they get something called level work. And with that level work, it allows them to level up from a level 1, which is the lowest tier, everybody starts there, to the highest tier, which is a level 5. Now, at level 1, your bedtime is 8 o'clock. Okay. At level 2, your bedtime is 8:15. Level 3, your bedtime is 8:30, and you get your own personal MP3 player with music that has been approved by the facility. At level 4, you gain the ability. At level 4, well, first off, your bedtime becomes 8:45. You get all the perks from level 3, but you also get the added perk of now being able to do community work around and throughout the facility that gives you an opportunity to earn money that can be used on commissary. And then the highest level is level 5, which is the exact same as level 4, simply that your bedtime is 9 p.m. Okay. Just to get that out of the way. So this particular story starts on it's one of my days at work. Now at the time I reported into work at 6 a.m. was the start of my shift. I would always get there maybe 15 minutes early to make sure that I'm clocked in. Um, my shift, we're responsible for waking these guys up, uh, giving them their laundry, clean laundry, obviously, that the night shift washed the night before, um, allowing them to get themselves ready, bringing them into the day room, taking them to all three of their meals, which would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We would also take them to their rec. We would take them to school in the education wing if they actually um, attended school, if they were not a graduate. Like I said, some of the boys were 17, 18, 19, 20. Obviously, they had already graduated high school. So if they needed to attend school, we would take them to the education hallway as well. Sometimes we would even escort them to their community work, so which gives them the opportunity to earn money, as I previously explained. So my shift starts 6 a.m. Now, I've gone through all the motions. I'm supposed to get off of work at 6:30 p.m. We work 12 and a half hours. On this particular day, the relieving shift was short staffed and they needed to draft or hold people over until they could get things in order on their shift. For me, what this meant is that if I was being held over, I had to be held over until the other officer was in ratio. Now, the unit that I was assigned to, unit size can vary. And by size, I mean the number of juvenile offenders that are there can vary. The particular unit that I was assigned to had 15 juveniles on it. Now, federal law requires that each detention specialist, which is the position that I worked, would be in ratio. So there could be no more. If there's one, the ratio was 1 to 8, which basically meant that one detention specialist can be responsible for 8 or fewer juveniles at a time. As long as there's 8 or fewer, you're considered in ratio. If there's more than 8, then there needs to be 2 detention center specialists on that particular unit. So this particular unit had 15 boys on it. Okay. Now, the problem with that is it takes 2 detention center specialists for a group of that number. So the reason I was being held over is because they didn't have enough people to send 2 detention specialists to that particular unit. So at 6:30, which was the time that my day should have ended, it didn't. Now I'm responsible for taking on some of the night shifts work. Then the night shift is tasked with showering the residents or facilitating their showers and then securing them in their room at their appropriate time, which, as I just explained, would depend on their level. So it could be a level, it could be at 8 o'clock, anywhere between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, they all should be secured in their rooms, okay? Locked behind their doors. Locked in is the phrase that we use. So I had to hold over because the oncoming shift was short. All right. I was a little upset about that. I do like overtime. I do like earning extra money, but I don't like it to happen last minute. I want to know in advance that I'm going to be required to hold over so that I can mentally prepare myself for it. Now, most days I don't mind it. Okay. I say 95, 96% of the juvenile offenders there are very respectful. They do what you expect them to do when you expect it to do it. They don't put up a lot of problems. But on days where you have to deal with somebody like a mid, who I spoke about in the dangers of working in a juvenile detention center, part one and part two, when you have to deal with somebody like him, if you're assigned to a unit where somebody like him is, you really your threshold, your tolerance threshold can build up rather quickly. So when it's time for you to go, you really want to go. Any additional time you have to spend there, despite the fact that you're being compensated time and a half, you really are trying to manage your stress levels. Okay, this comes with the job for those of you who are unfamiliar. All right, so on this particular day, as I previously indicated, I came in at 6 a.m. I had been with these boys all day long, and it came to a point where I should have gotten relieved, but I didn't because they were short staffed. I was already irritated because I wanted to leave because there was one boy that would be Copeland that was assigned to this unit that is very ignorant, very obnoxious. One of the few that is kind of similar to a mid in terms of maybe behavior, but nowhere near the size of it mid. So you know what I mean? So it's just the fact that you constantly have to hear his voice and constantly have to redirect him, and just like a constant thing. So it's like I said, it drains your stress levels rather quickly. While I'm being held over, I facilitated the showers, which the person who actually did come into the unit from the night shift, because it was only one of them instead of two, they should have facilitated the shower since I had already been there all day. They decided that they wanted to sit their ass in the day room and just kind of let the juveniles watch the television while they weren't doing much of anything. So while I came in at 6 a.m., I went in the back and I facilitated the showers, expecting for this person to come relieve me. This person was rather lazy. They did not. So I felt like I'm doing their work, which added to the frustration that I was already feeling. Okay. After showers are done, I think showers started around 6 p.m. They were done probably around 7:15, possibly 7, closer to 7:30, maybe. All right. Um, so now I rejoin the day room. Okay. Now out in the day room, like I said, there's seats, there's a desk for the detention specialists, there's a television, there's a table where the juveniles can play board games, card games, stuff like that. Most of them who have already showered are in the day room. They're either making their phone calls because the phones come on at 6 p.m., they go off at 8 p.m. So they're either making their phone calls, watching television, or they're playing games. Okay. So I come back out into the day room after all the showers are complete. I'm ready to go. Okay. Needless to say, I'm ready to go. This means today is going to be like a 14 and a half hour day for me. I wouldn't mind that, as I previously stated, if it was told to me earlier, but I had already had to deal with somebody who I didn't like dealing with. So I was already, frustrated. Anyway, I'm knowing that at 8 o'clock, there's like, if I'm not mistaken, there's like, I want to say maybe six of these boys, six or seven of them, six of them who are level ones, which means that at 8 o'clock, when those level ones go in and lock in, secure into their room, it goes from 15 down to 9. Okay. Still out of ratio for the one person who showed up. So I got to wait. At the earliest, I'm going to be leaving at 8:15, because at 8:15, there were like a couple level twos that were also going to go in their room, which mean that would have put the one detention specialist who came in on night shift in proper ratio. They would no longer need me, and I can leave. So here's what happens. I come out from finishing facilitating their showers at around 7:15, 7:20ish. Let's, just say that. And I'm just kind of waiting around. We're doing my normal routine, which is supervising the boys, kind of interacting with them, stuff like that, logging everything to make sure, that everything is safe and secure. So at 8 o'clock, like I said, I'm already ready to go. Now at 8 o'clock, I stand up in the middle of the day room floor where all the juveniles are, and I'm like, level ones. The time now is 8 p.m. I need all level ones to follow me into the back hallway so that you can secure. All of the level ones stand up. with the exception of Copeland. Okay. Copeland looks at me and he's like, yeah, I'm not, yeah. He got this smirk on his face like he thinks it's funny. They always try you when it's bedtime. I don't know why they put up so much resistance, but they always try to try you. Yeah, what you talking about? Nah, I ain't no level 1. I'm a level 2. I'm like, well, until I'm told differently by your case manager, who won't be in until tomorrow morning, you are a level 1. That is what the board says. That is the information that we received earlier today. It is 8 p.m. It is your bedtime. I need you to follow the rest of the level 1s with me into the back hallway so you can prepare to secure into your room for the remainder of the night. Man, nah, fuck that. I ain't going in my room. I just told your motherfucking ass, Nick. I'm a level 2. I don't go in at 8 o'clock. I go in at 8:15. Fuck is you talking about? And I'm like, Mr. Copeland, please don't make me have to physically put you in your room. It's totally unnecessary. What the fuck? You ain't gonna do shit, nigga. You ain't gonna motherfucking put your hand on me. You ain't gonna put me in my room. Fuck, nigga. I'll fucking smoke your ass out this joint. I stand over top you and do XYZ to you. And I'm sitting up here like, Copeland, you would do no such thing. A child of your size and stature is not a match for me. If you don't have a weapon, you're not a match for me, bro. And like, let's make it easy for everyone else, and just come on to the back hallway so you can. Nah, fuck that. I ain't going nowhere, nigga. I ain't doing none of that shit. The fuck is you talking about? I told you already. I'm a level 2, nigga. Fuck out of here. So I'm like, all right. Um, Level 1s who are cooperating, I'll take you guys to the back hallway. I'll deal with this situation after you guys are secure. So I take the level 1s who were complying to the back hallway. They secure in their rooms, no problem. Like I said, these guys are used to me. They're familiar. They all look up to me. They all show proper respect. Didn't have any issue putting these guys into their room. I say putting them into their room, but for them to go into their room, they did it willfully. Okay. I come back out. Mr. Copeland, the time is 8:05. You are 5 minutes past your bedtime. You need to come on with me to the back hallway. Nah, fuck that. I ain't doing none of that shit. By this time, the other DS who had come in on night shift had already called the supervisor, because before we go hands on, they wanted to be approved by supervision. Okay. Kind of puts us at somewhat of a disadvantage. I think the juveniles know this. Supervisor doesn't make it to the unit until approximately, I want to say 8:15. By 8:15, it's time for the level 2s to go down, right? So I think there were like 4 level 2s. Copeland actually stayed out 15 minutes past his bedtime. And he wanted to make a point that that's what he was going to do. When the supervisor got there, he got up, as well as the other level 2s, and then they went into their room. Now, the one DS who did show up to relieve me, he's in ratio. I believe there were 6 level 1s to bring it down to 9. Um, well, Copeland didn't go in his room, so it was 5 of them that secured. Copeland refused, and then there were 4 more, 3 or 4 more that went into their room. I want to say 3 more plus Copeland would be another 4. So there was 9 of them that went into their room, which meant he was now in ratio, because now there's only 7 of them out. Now I can go. So I leave, I go home. The very next day, I think I'm getting a break from Copeland, but I'm not. They reassigned me to this same unit again. And I think management, the security manager, was intentional about where she put people, because she actually wanted to always ensure that on that particular unit where there were a large number of boys, that there was always a strong a man with a very strong presence, uh, pretty decent stature, and did things the way that they were supposed to be done. So they put me back on that unit because they knew that I was one of the ones that followed policy and kept things and kept these boys in check, so to say. They put me back on that unit. Um, Now, when I got to work the next day and I had got my assignment to go into that unit, I went on a break rather quickly. I think I had to go to the break room, the staff break room, to retrieve an energy drink, take a few sips from my energy drink, maybe get coffee, something of that nature. The compliance officer, their office is right next to the break room. So when they see me, they're like, "Hey, Southeast, can I talk to you for a second?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" They like, "What do you know about the boys on that particular unit having playing cards?" And I'm like, "Playing cards? Like, what do you mean? Do you mean like Uno, Phase 10?" And they're like, "No, playing cards, like spades. Like they had a deck of playing cards and they were playing spades or some type of card game in the unit." I'm like, "I don't know anything about that. When did this happen? Was I in the unit when it took place?" And they're like, no, you weren't there, but we were just asking everybody who's been on that unit since we saw it. We saw them on camera playing spades or some type of playing card. So we were just trying to figure out like who knew about it. And I'm like, nah, I've never seen any playing cards. I did see a group of boys kind of huddled up over on the couch area, and they were playing cards and putting the cards on the floor. But I assumed that they were playing Uno because those are the only cards that I've ever seen in a unit. I've never seen any playing cards. So the compliance officer is like, okay, cool. They've just decided they were going to continue their investigation. So I'm going to say maybe an hour later, compliance comes to the unit where this took place. And they're trying to figure out, they turn the TV off, they get everybody's attention. They're trying to figure out who is responsible for these playing cards. Now, mind you, there are cameras all over this facility. They saw it on camera, so they already know who had the playing cards. Now, remember what I told you guys earlier. These juvenile offenders work for levels, and your levels determine the things that you can do in the areas that you can go in the facility. Okay. So only level fours and fives have the ability to do work, which gives them access to different areas in the facility that level ones, twos, and threes will never access. Okay. Until they make it to level 4 and 5. So by process of elimination, there were only 4 people that were I'm sorry, 5 people that were level 4 and 5. Okay. Only 5 of them. Now, one of them, we already know was very loyal, very trustworthy, like a model juvenile resident. He does nothing wrong. He does exactly what you ask him, and only that. He speaks only when spoken to. We knew by process of elimination we could take him out. So we were able to narrow it down to maybe 2 people that had been in the area where the playing cards were, which was pretty much in the storage area. Compliance calls everybody, gets everybody's attention, turn the television off, and she's trying to get somebody to cop to it. Okay. Nobody decides to cop to it. So compliance is like, all right, well, since nobody's copping to it, you guys don't get to watch TV for the rest of the day. And she asked me to assist her in looking for any other contraband that should not be on the unit. As we're searching through the other boxes of board games where these guys work, or I say work, where they play, where they store their board games, I come across a box that was empty, but there was something in it. I open the box. There's a second deck of playing cards. So these guys got access to 2 decks of playing cards, and they were hiding them strategically throughout the unit because they weren't going to take them in their room. We do shakedowns in their room. If we catch you with contraband, you get written up. That goes to your case manager. That goes to the judge, and then they can make a new determination about you. So when we find the second deck of cards, compliance like, all right, look, everybody, it's time to lock in. Nobody wanted to cop to the deck of cards. I just found a second deck of cards. Not only do you guys not get any TV, you guys are going into your room for the rest of the day, or possibly for 3 days. Okay. So everybody files to the back hallway. They go into their rooms. This is like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm scheduled to be there until 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. tonight. So there's no TV. And when they're in their rooms, my job becomes a little bit more tedious because now every 15 minutes, I've got to go past their room and I got to sign off on a check sheet that is attached to their door that I checked to make sure that they weren't in there harming themselves or doing anything that they weren't supposed to be doing. Okay. Um, as this day progresses, mind you, there's 15 boys. There's only 16 rooms per unit. There's 15 boys now all locked into their room. And this is not because they were all involved in the incident. It's because nobody wanted to cop to it. So they were punished collectively as a unit. Um, but still, throughout the course of the day, we have to bring them their meals. They're not going to the dining facility. They're not going to, or the dining facility, the cafeteria. They're not going to the gym to have their rec. We are going to bring each of their meals to their room now. We're going to bring each of their snacks to their room now. Like they're not coming out of their room for anything. You don't need to because there's a toilet inside of your room. So there's no reason for you to leave. So during the process of me bringing them, I want to say I was bringing them their dinner meal, which was around that 5 o'clock hour, 4:30, 5 o'clock hour. I can remember hearing banging on the doors back there. It's not going to make a difference because you guys are not coming out of your room for any given reason. Unless you're having some type of medical emergency, you're not coming out of your room because this is what compliance says. So I go to the back hallway and I'm passing out their evening meal, their dinner meal. And I can remember as soon as I come in the back hallway, because in the day room is the chairs, the table, the television, the desk. Okay. and then you go through another secured door that takes you into the back hallway where all of their bedrooms are and where the showers are and where the laundry closet is when they need sheets, socks, underwear, all that kind of stuff. So when I go through the door to begin passing out their meals, I'm hearing banging on the doors, and it's coming from the end of the unit where Copeland's room is. Okay, now Copeland's room is right next to Cameron's room. Now Cameron, as I've already explained to you guys, what his demeanor is, but Cameron is also, while he is rather quiet and does what you ask him to do, Cameron is also an instigator. Now, he won't behave ignorantly himself, but what he will do is he will encourage ignorant, obnoxious behavior from somebody who's demonstrating it just so he can be entertained. So there's banging coming from the end of the unit where Copeland's room is. All right. Cam's room is right next to it. And I'm hearing Copeland scream at the top of his lungs, Southeast, man, you was a bitch, man. Yeah, you a bitch, nigga, Southeast. Da 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 da, man. Fuck that nigga, Southeast. Da 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 da. He's talking big shit. He's talking about me now. He's screaming because he wants to make sure that I can hear it. And I can hear Cam and one other juvenile inmate kind of riling him up, getting him sights. They're laughing at, oh, hey, nigga, you stupid, man. Go ahead, Joe, with you. Oh, yo, stop playing, bro. Nah, fuck this nigga, Southie, blah, blah, blah. They're encouraging his ignorant behavior, right? Just laughing. You know, when you're laughing at somebody being ignorant, they're going to keep being ignorant. They're going to be more obnoxious. So they're sizing him up. They're getting him. And I'm just sitting up here like, okay, I already know what's about to happen, okay? So while I'm passing out these meals, I have to open their door. I have to use my key to open their door to hand them their meal, their drink, their dessert, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that the cafeteria is serving, I have to open their door and hand them everything. Okay, so I'm coming down. I'm hitting each room at a time, moving down the unit, getting closer and closer to the back of the unit, the far end where Copeland's room was, next to Cameron's room. Now, as I get there, all of the loud screaming and cursing and yelling and chatter, all of it starts to get really, really low and almost non-existent. Then I hear one of the boys say, yeah, it sound like he getting close. It sound like he getting close, Copeland. We about to see if you about that life. We about to really see if you gonna do what you said you was gonna do. I don't hear any response from Copeland. So when I get to that point of these three rooms, Copeland, Cameron, and the one other juvenile, I'm like, you know what? I'm not about to open your door or your door. I'm gonna open his door first. It's not that I'm breaking the order that I was going in. I'm gonna open his door first. So I opened Copeland's door, and I was like, something's supposed to be happening when I open this door. And then the Cameron and the other juvenile, they start laughing at as loud as they possibly can because they already know my temperament. They already know that I don't really go for a lot of that ignorant shit that Copeland was doing. All of that obnoxious shit, I'm not fucking with that. So they start laughing. I open his door. Copeland, when the door opens up, he this is exactly what he does. He comes walking out real slowly. And he's like, what's up with all that shit you was talking in the day room last night? And I was like, what about it, nigga? And he's like, yeah, you in this joint bluffing. You faking like you tough or something like that. I said, Slim, you supposed to be doing something now that this door is open? Is you supposed to be doing something? And I'm opening your door first so that the same people that's icing you up can bear witness to what's about to happen to your ass if you get ignorant with me while this door is open. So he's like, well, I mean, I'm like, man, I don't even want to hear none of that shit. Here go your motherfucking meal. Here go your motherfucking drink. Here go your motherfucking snack. You can take this shit. You can close your motherfucking door, or you can do whatever it was that you was talking about doing before I came down here. And he was like, nah, nigga, you close the door. You close the door. And I turned around and looked at them. I said, man, any of y'all ever seen that movie, Baby Boy? You know the difference between guns and butter? You know what I'm saying? They started laughing again because now I'm I don't want to say I'm encouraging the ignorant behavior, but I'm almost welcoming him to do whatever the fuck it was that he was talking about doing. Because like I told you, when it comes to these detention centers, while I may be very articulate in how I speak, while I may be an intelligent individual, when you're dealing with these criminal offenders, sometimes you have to let them know that you can flip that switch and you can come down to their level. You know what I mean? So Copeland takes his food. He doesn't want to close his door. So I reach in. I literally reach into his room. I put half of my body through the door frame of his door. Now I'm off camera. So whatever he wanted to do, he had an opportunity to do it, and the camera would not have caught it. He did nothing. So I closed his fucking door. I secured him back in, continue passing out the meals, and then I report back to the day room. I leave. Okay. Now, the very next day, I had volunteered for overtime. They put me on the same unit again where Copeland was, knowing that I don't like dealing with this motherfucker like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm able to do it, so it's whatever. So I'm on that unit. The boys have been let out of their rooms now because compliance has now solved the issue of who was responsible for bringing the playing cards into their deck, and they took the appropriate action, which was basically taking them from level 4s and 5s all the way back down to level 1, meaning they got to work months to get back up to level 5. That was the consequence, and they remained in their room for 3 days or something like that. I think they had early bedtime. No, they didn't remain in their room for 3 days. They had early bedtime, and they were demoted back to level 1. So I'm back on the unit. There's 15 boys on there again, and Copeland. Um, no, 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 no. Copeland actually had gone to court that day. So he was still assigned to the unit, but he had gone to court to figure out whether he was going to be released or not, whether he was going to get an early release, transferred, or whether he was going to have to stay. That's what took place. So I'm back on that unit. This is where Cameron's part of the story comes in. Cameron, like I said, he's kind of like an instigator. So Cameron comes up to the desk where I'm seated, and he's asking me some question that was totally irrelevant. And he was like, just Cameron's voice, he tries to make his voice deeper than it actually is so that he can come off tougher and more mature than he may actually be. When he speaks, he kind of sounds, in my opinion, like Charlie Murphy. So he comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, yeah, Southeast, man. I'm just curious, man. What you was gonna do if that nigga Copeland would have just glassed your ass? Like, if he would have swung at you, like, what was you gonna do? Was you gonna press charges on that nigga or something like that?" And I was like, "Press charges on Copeland?" I'm like, first off, Copeland wasn't gonna swing at me. If you were right there when I opened his door. Whatever he was talking about doing, you saw that he wasn't about to do none of that shit. I opened his door and I opened it first specifically for you, for all the audience that was down there to see who he truly was. But he was like, "Yeah, but I'm just saying though, like, what if he did? Like, was you gonna press charges on him?" I was like, if Copeland would have swung at me, I would have beat his motherfucking ass in that back hallway, knowing that I was gonna lose my job, knowing that they were probably gonna press charges against me. I would have whipped his motherfucking ass in that joint, and then I would have pressed charges on him for putting me in a position to have to whip his motherfucking ass in that joint. Then he's like, "I'm just saying, man, because it is kind of crazy if a nigga, kind of instigating shit, and then they want to press charges and shit like that." And then I'm like, "Nah." Then he's like, "Man, on the real." I said, "Hold on, let me ask you something. Cameron. Do you really think that Copeland could do anything with me?" Then he was like, "Man, I don't know about seeing it with the hands. It's possible though." I'm like, "Man, let me tell you something, Cameron. Nobody in your generation can do anything with anybody in my generation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anybody who's old enough for your little ass to call Unc, you're not fucking with them. You ain't fucking with us. We come from a different generation. We're forged in fire. If you're born in those 80s and you were raised in those 90s, we come from a different era, broski. We didn't have access to we didn't have social media. We didn't have no damn Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, what is it called? X, Twitter. We didn't have no fucking Shade Room, World Star, um, the Media Zone, TMZ. We didn't have none of that shit. You know, we didn't have access to guns either, which means we gonna wreck you. If we got an issue with you, we gonna fucking wreck you. We gonna meet you after school in a designated spot. We gonna throw hands. If we can't catch you after school, guess what's gonna happen? We gonna go back to our neighborhood. We gonna get 3, 4, 5 of our homeboys, and we gonna take the metro bus, or we gonna walk to your fucking neighborhood so I can get this wreck off my chest. And if any one of your boys in the neighborhood get out of line, my dudes are gonna wreck your dudes. But at the end of the day, we gonna wreck. We gonna swap that shit out. We forged in fire from this generation, and we're not gonna lose a fight. Or let me put it to you like this: we will never say that we lost a fight. If I fight you today and you get the best of me, I'm gonna fight your ass tomorrow or in a few days, and I'm gonna keep fighting you until I get the best of you. And the very worst thing you're gonna ever hear, somebody gonna ask you who won the fight between you and such and such. You're never gonna hear one of us say, "I lost that joint, man. That nigga whipped my ass." At the very least, we're gonna be like, it was a tie. You know what I'm saying? He got one, I got one. It was a tie. Ain't nobody talking about losing. So y'all little motherfuckers, y'all can't throw hands. I was like, "Do you really think Copeland is nice with his hands?" He's like, "Well, I don't really know if he's nice with his hands, but I do believe he's nice with these. I think he's nice with these right here. I think he got all of this." I'm like, this is a gun. This is a blicky. This is the switch. He's making a motion for. I'm like, really? I'm like, and what makes you think that he's nice, that he's sweet with the guns? What makes you believe that? Have you ever seen him hold a gun? You ever seen him shoot one? I mean, nah, I ain't never seen him do none of that. I'm like, you ever heard that phrase, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear? Yeah. I'm like, okay. So you ain't seen shit in this particular case. So you ain't seen him hold a gun. You ain't seen him shoot a gun, right? You mean, yeah. I'm like, so that means that your perception of him being sweet with these, nice with these, is based off of what he told you, right? Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see, none of what you hear. So I'm like, you sitting up here believing Obama simply because he told you some shit. Get the fuck out of here. It was at this point that I realized that I didn't know much of anything about Cameron. I knew that he played basketball. I knew that he's in a detention center, so he's obviously some type of criminal offender, but I didn't know what it was that Cameron did. So I asked him, I said, you know what, man, why are you even in this detention center, dog? What did you do to get brought here? And he was like, I mean, you know what I mean? I got malicious wounding or something like that. I'm like, okay. So you shot a nigga. And he was like, yeah, basically. And then I'm like, well, what you shoot him for? He's like, man, I can't even explain all of that. I said, okay, okay. Well, was he shooting at you? And he's like, nah. I'm like, did he even have a gun? Nah, he ain't had no gun. I was like, oh, okay. So you's a bitch. You can't fight then. You ain't got no hands. Cause why you shooting a nigga that don't have a gun that ain't even shooting at you? When you could have just walked up to the nigga and two-pieced him in the face. You could have stomped on him. You could have done anything with your body, but you chose to use a firearm. Like, if you did that, then it means that either you don't have any hands and you were worried that if you punched him, it wasn't going to have any effect and he was going to whip your motherfucking ass, or he was too big and you was intimidated by his size. That's the only thing that makes sense. That's not what I would have done. He's like, well, I mean, I can't explain it to you because you wouldn't even understand the nature of the situation and why I had to shoot the nigga and this and that and the other. I'm like, man, the only thing I understand is you shot a motherfucker that wasn't shooting at you and that didn't have a gun. In my books, and when I say my books, I'm talking about anybody born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, that's a sucker move. We ain't moving like that. That means you ain't got no hands. So while you sitting up here talking about you think he's sweet with these and all of this shit, the truth of the matter is, you know that you and everybody in your generation, what I just said about y'all is accurate. Y'all ain't got no hands and y'all ain't doing shit with nobody in my generation. Period. Let me tell you something. I'm at work at the group home, okay? I come to find out, now this is months after this took place. I come to find out Cameron, while he is in there for malicious wounding, he didn't actually shoot no dude. And what you'll come to realize is a lot of these juvenile offenders, they will lie about the reason they're there because they want to seem tougher than they are, or simply because they don't want you knowing the reality of the reason why they're there. I'm in here talking to one of my coworkers, the guy who relieved me at night. Um, and he explains to me, because we work in conjunction with the detention center, and he's explaining to me, he's like, yeah, it's a juvenile over there, man. His name is Cameron. I don't remember his last name. And I was like, Cameron. I'm like, I know a Cameron over there. I only know one Cameron. He's tall, about 6'1", 6'2", play basketball, kind of got a lanky, wiry frame. And he's like, yeah, well, I can't remember his last name though. I did remember his last name. I won't say it in this video to protect the identity of the juvenile. And I'm like, when I said his name, he was like, I think that's him. He was like, man, this motherfucker, I remember, man, that shit he did, that shit happened right in my neighborhood, man. I'm like, yeah, he told me he shot some dude. He was like, nah. He said he ain't shoot no dude. He said he shot at a dude that was in a car. He missed every shot that he fired, and he ended up shooting a 8-year-old girl that was riding her bike in the neighborhood in broad daylight. He was trying to shoot at somebody in a car who was, I guess, his ops, but he ended up missing all of those shots and hitting an innocent bystander who was an 8-year-old girl riding her bike, kind of near where the shooting took place. That 8-year-old girl did not die, but she is permanently paralyzed on one side of her body as a result of a round that he fired from his firearm, which obviously wasn't even registered to him, probably was illegally obtained or whatever like that. Mind you, throughout the facility, he's telling people that he about that life. He walked up to some dude and shot him. That ain't the truth. That ain't the truth, motherfucker. You shot at somebody and end up hitting a little ass girl. Now I can imagine why you don't tell people the other half of the story. My coworker, the guy who was relieving me, actually pulled up the article on MSNBC maybe, because whatever it was, it was on the news It was in his neighborhood. It made the local news where they go into detail about everything that took place. And I'm just sitting up here like, I will never be able to look at Cameron the same as I did prior to any of this. Now, mind you, I didn't really care for Cam to begin with, but I didn't necessarily dislike him. Okay. I don't like people who are ignorant and obnoxious. I don't like people who encourage ignorant, obnoxious behavior. However, I will never look at this guy the same because while he is quiet and he does do what you need him to do when you ask him to do it, now that I know that you were careless enough to shoot a firearm in broad daylight and you did damage to an innocent bystander in the form of an 8-year-old girl who was riding her bike throughout her neighborhood minding her business, now she's going to be affected by your foolish decision for the rest of her life, paralyzed on one side of her body. Your foolish decision has affected this little girl forever. I can never look at this kid the same, man. But I just wanted to give you guys a really in-depth description of juvenile offender Cam, as well as juvenile offender Copeland. I want you guys to keep all of this in mind because I will be doing individual videos on most, not all, but most of these juvenile offenders in this facility, giving you backgrounds on why they're there, what their character is like, and different altercations or run-ins that I may have had with them so that you guys are thoroughly familiar with them as I continue the series of the dangers of working in a juvenile detention facility. As I've previously indicated, that series is going to reach a conclusion. So there'll be multiple stories told, and the names of these juveniles will be mentioned in those stories. And I want you guys to be familiar with who they are, what they're like, and the ultimate role that they are going to play in the conclusion of this series of stories. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's video. I am the real Rayhan, and here on my channel, I tell real life stories about different experiences I've had in life, relationships, marriages, and in my career, as well as the military. If you guys enjoyed this video, I need you guys to do me a huge favor. Smash the like button. It's located somewhere like right here underneath my finger. Just go ahead and smash that joint. It helps the video reach other viewers who will enjoy it as much as you do. And if you guys are new to the channel and you enjoy my style of storytelling, I do invite you to subscribe, ask that you turn on your notifications so you'll be notified immediately when the next video, whether it be in this playlist or another one, goes live here on the channel. I am going to try to start uploading a little bit more often. Sometimes it takes me a little while to kind of gather my thoughts and figure out which story I'm going to tell and how much detail I need to provide into that story while still protecting the identity of a juvenile that may be in that story. But I definitely appreciate you guys for joining me for this video today. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. You enjoy your afternoon. Peace.